The broken gift hall was large, filled with strange lights and alien laughter. Jalen stood near the back, quiet and unsure why he had even been invited. He was a human farmer from a quiet planet, not a warrior, not a hero. Just a man who grew food and fixed broken machines. But today the alien leaders had called him here. They said they had a gift for him. When the doors opened, 2 guards walked in, carrying something, or someone. It was a girl, thin, pale, and dressed in torn royal cloth. Her long silver hair covered her face. She looked weak, broken. "We give you the Princess Soraya," one of the aliens said, trying to hide his smirk. "A noble gift from our house to yours." Crowd laughed. Jalen didn't laugh. He looked at the girl. She didn't move. Didn't speak. Her eyes stared at nothing. She looked more like a prisoner than a princess. He didn't understand. "What's this about?" Jalen asked, stepping forward. "She's infertile," the alien noble said. "Useless to us. No future, no heirs. But maybe you humans can find some use. She's yours now." More laughter. Jalen clenched his fists. Not from anger, but from shame. Not his shame, but theirs. He walked toward Soraya and reached out gently. She didn't look up. She didn't fight. She just stood there. "Can she walk?" he asked. "Does it matter?" Someone in the crowd called out. Jalen ignored them. He placed his hand on her shoulder. "Come with me," he said softly. To his surprise, she moved. The journey back to his farm was quiet. Jalen didn't force her to talk. He gave her space. He let her sit by the window of the shuttle. Outside, stars passed by like dust in the wind. When they reached his planet, he showed her the land. Fields of green, trees that sang when the wind moved through them, animals that followed him because he fed them well. "This is your home now," he said. She didn't answer. He didn't push. Days passed. Soraya didn't speak. She ate little. She slept on the floor at first, even though he gave her a soft bed. She watched him work, watched the animals, but she never joined. Jalen continued his life, planting crops, fixing engines, feeding animals. He always left extra food nearby, closer to her than to him. Slowly, she started eating more. Then, one morning, he found her outside, standing near the garden. The wind played with her hair. Her hands were dirty, covered in soil. "You're helping?" he asked. She didn't answer, but she kept planting. It was a beginning. Weeks passed. Slowly, she spoke, one word at a time, then short sentences. Never much, never loud, but her voice was soft, like music that had been forgotten. "Why?" she asked him one evening. "Why what? Why did you accept me?" Jalen thought for a moment. "You needed someone, and so did I." Soraya looked away. "I'm broken." "Maybe," he said, "but broken things can still grow like this land. It was dead once, I brought it back." She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. One night, during a heavy rain, she stood at his door. Her dress was soaked. Her hands were shaking. "I had a nightmare," she whispered. Jalen stepped aside. "You want to sit by the fire?" She nodded. They sat in silence. The fire crackled. He gave her a warm drink. She didn't speak again, but she stayed until the rain stopped. More time passed. The princess who once stared at nothing now laughed. Just a little sometimes. She fed the animals. She helped in the garden. She asked questions. About Earth. About humans. About Jalen's past. One day she asked, "Do you miss your people?" Jalen smiled. "I miss some of them. But out here, I've found peace. You live a simple life. That's all I need." Soraya looked at him, truly looked. Her silver eyes shimmered. "Maybe. Simple is what I need too." One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Soraya stood in the garden, her hands on her stomach. She looked worried. Jalen noticed. "Are you okay?" I feel strange," she said. "What kind of strange?" Like something is waking inside me, she whispered. Something that was dead. The healing spark the night was quiet, but something in the air felt different. Jalen couldn't sleep. His mind kept going back to Soraya's words. Something that was dead is waking. He sat near the fire thinking. Soraya had changed so much since she arrived. She was no longer the silent, broken girl he first saw. She was still quiet, still guarded, but her eyes had life now, and something else. He didn't understand it yet, but he would. In the morning, he found Soraya already outside. She stood barefoot in the soil, eyes closed, her arms lifted to the sky. Her skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight. "Are you feeling better?" he asked. "I don't know what I feel," she said. "But something inside me is changing. I can sense energy, warmth, like a seed starting to grow." He frowned. "Maybe you're just healing." Soraya opened her eyes. "Maybe, but healing shouldn't feel like this." Later that day, Soraya collapsed. Jalen rushed to her. Her body was burning hot. Glowing lines spread across her skin, lines he had never seen before. They looked like symbols, ancient and alive. "Soraya, talk to me," he shouted. She looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. "Jalen, it's not supposed to be possible, but I think I'm with child." His heart stopped. "What?" "I was made infertile at birth. They said I could never carry life. I believed them. All my people believed them. But now..." Her voice shook. "Now I feel life inside me." Jalen brought her inside and covered her in blankets. He didn't know much about alien biology, but this didn't look normal. She was glowing, trembling, whispering words in her sleep. Words in a language he didn't understand. He activated the old med scanner. It beeped, scanned, and then paused. Life form detected. His hands trembled. This was real. He sent a private message to an old friend, Dr. Cavan, a human scientist living on a nearby moon colony. He didn't include details, just one line. "I need help. Something impossible is happening." The next day, ships appeared in orbit. Not Cavan, not humans. They were alien, fast, royal colors, no warning. Jalen watched the skies darken as the ships hovered above. He grabbed his old rifle, not to fight, but to protect. Soraya woke up with fear in her eyes. "They know," she whispered. "They can feel it. The Empire. They can sense the change." "What change?" "They tried to erase my bloodline. They failed. I carry power they buried for centuries. Now that it's awakened, they'll try to take it. Me back. And the child." Jalen's jaw tightened. "They'll have to go through me." A voice echoed across the sky, booming, cold. "Return the princess. She is claimed by the crown. Resistance will be punished." Jalen stepped outside. "She's not your property," he shouted. A beam of energy struck near his feet, burning the ground. "You have one day, or we take her by force." Jalen and Soraya didn't sleep that night. "Can you fight them?" she asked. "No," he said. "But I can hide you. I know this land better than they ever will. And the child? We protect both of you, no matter what." They ran at sunrise, deep into the forest, past the old rivers, into the mountains. Jalen led her to a hidden cave once used by settlers during the storms. It had supplies, food, power, safe, for now. But Soraya was growing weaker. The child inside her was growing too fast. Her glowing marks were now constant. And sometimes, her eyes flashed with energy that made the walls hum. "You're becoming something else," Jalen whispered. Soraya looked at him. "No, not something else. I'm becoming who I was always meant to be." Meanwhile, the Empire's council watched from orbit. "This is not just a pregnancy," one elder said. "This is a threat. If she carries the lost blood, if the child survives, then our rule ends," another finished. They issued a new command. "Send the assassins. Bring her back. Or end her." In the cave, Soraya suddenly gasped and fell to her knees. Her hands went to her stomach. Energy surged out of her. Cracks lit up the rocks around her. "They're coming," she whispered. "I can feel them." Jalen held her. "Then we don't run anymore, we fight." She looked up at him. "I don't want you to die for me." "I won't die. I'll stand. And if I fall, I'll fall doing the right thing." Outside, in the shadows of the trees, glowing red eyes watched them. The assassins had arrived, and this time they weren't here to joke. They were here to erase history. The first bloodline, the cave, was cold, lit only by the dim blue light coming from Soraya's skin. She sat with her knees drawn to her chest, trembling, not from fear, but from the power awakening inside her. Jalen stood at the entrance, his old plasma rifle aimed into the darkness. He couldn't see the assassins, but he felt them. The forest had gone too still. Even the wind refused to move. "They're waiting," Soraya whispered, her voice shaky. "They're hunting us like prey." "They think we're weak," Jalen replied, scanning the tree line. "They're wrong." In the deep woods, 3 figures moved like shadows. The assassins were not soldiers. They were bred to kill without noise, without thought. They wore cloaks of shadowlight, bending around trees like smoke. Their eyes glowed red, seeing heat, fear, and heartbeats. "Target is close," the lead whispered. "Princess is to be taken alive. Human, optional." They split into formation. The hunt began. Inside the cave, Jalen helped Soraya stand. Her body was shaking, but her eyes were changing, turning brighter like stars forming. "My child, he's not human." "Not fully," she said, gripping her belly. "He's connected to the ancient line, the bloodline that once ruled before the council erased it. They feared our power." "What kind of power?" Jalen asked. She met his eyes. "Life from death, energy from pain, truth from silence. We were called soul weavers. And now? Now, I'm the last. And this child is the first in 1,000 years." A sudden snap outside. Then silence. Jalen raised his weapon. A voice, cold and dry, echoed through the trees. "Human. Surrender the princess. You were never meant to live this story." He fired into the dark. A shape leapt from the shadows. Blade. Drawn, Jalen ducked, rolled, fired again. The shot hit the assassin's arm, sending him back into the brush. "Run!" Jalen shouted to Soraya. But Soraya didn't move. Instead, she stepped out of the cave, her hands glowing with white fire. The marks on her body pulsed like breathing stars. "You're not taking my child," she said softly. The assassin attacked. In midair, he stopped, frozen by invisible force. His body dropped to the ground like a stone. Not dead, but stunned. The second assassin emerged, faster, smarter. He threw a sonic blade toward Jalen. Soraya raised her hand. The blade dissolved before reaching him. Jalen stared. "What did you just do?" "I'm not sure," she whispered, "but I feel awake." The third assassin wasn't so easy. He appeared behind them, silent as shadow. A poisoned blade slashed across Jalen's back before he could turn. Jalen fell groaning. "No," Soraya cried, rushing to him. The assassin grabbed her, pressing a blade to her neck. "Come quietly or he bleeds out," the voice hissed. Soraya's eyes glowed, not with fear, with fury, her skin cracked with light. The ground rumbled. The trees outside bent toward her, and the assassin screamed. Not from pain, but from the sound that exploded from her mouth. Not a scream, not a cry, but a pulse. A raw wave of energy that knocked him off his feet and crushed his blade into dust. Jalen gasped, still bleeding. Soraya knelt by him, placing her glowing hand over the wound. "Stay with me," she begged. Her energy flowed into his skin. The wound closed, not just stopped but healed, like it had never been there. Jalen stared at her. "How?" "This is the bloodline," she said. "This is why they fear me." Above them, the Empire's ship watched. A signal was sent. "She has awakened." "Then the council must vote," came the reply. "If she is the heir to the HFY Soulweaver line, she must be erased or bowed to." Back in the cave, Jalen leaned against the wall, his breathing slow but steady. Soraya looked at the bodies outside. The assassins weren't dead, but they would not return soon. What now? Jalen asked. Now? She said. Now they come with armies. Not to capture me, but to destroy the child. She touched her stomach. They believe power like this should not exist. They'll burn the sky to stop it. Then we need to go. Somewhere they can't reach, Jalen said. Soraya shook her head. There's nowhere safe, but there's one place they won't expect. Where? She looked toward the stars. The capital. Jalen blinked. You want to go to them? Yes, she said. But not as prey. I go as heir. As mother. As fire returned to a frozen throne. As they packed supplies, Soraya reached for Jalen's hand. You never turned away from me. Not when I was broken. Not when I was hunted. Not even when I burned the sky. He smiled, weakly. You were never broken. Just waiting to rise. The child within her kicked, and somewhere across the galaxy, ancient thrones began to tremble. Fire in the throne world, the ship was old, slow, and barely space-worthy. Jalen had pulled it from storage, hidden beneath his farm long ago. Back when he thought peace would last forever. Now, he sat in the pilot's seat staring at the navigation panel, hands steady. Beside him, Soraya rested, wrapped in a thermal cloak. Her skin still glowed faintly, and the strange symbols on her arms pulsed with light every few seconds. The child inside her was growing fast, faster than either of them understood. You still sure about this? Jalen asked quietly. Soraya looked at him. Yes. If we keep running, they'll never stop chasing. But if I step onto the capital, world with truth, with power, with him. She placed her hand on her stomach. Then they will have to choose. Destroy me in front of their people, or kneel to a future they fear. Jalen nodded. Then we make them choose. Their journey took 4 days. 4 days of silence and whispers. Of energy storms swirling around the ship when Soraya dreamt. Of waking to find the ship floating through strange glowing clouds that weren't in the star charts. Jalen knew something had changed. Not just Soraya, not just the child. The galaxy itself seemed to be bending around her now. They reached the throne world, Veldicor, once the center of the galaxy's strongest empire. Now, it was a dying world of golden towers and frozen laws. As their ship entered orbit, alarms lit up. Unregistered vessel. Identify or be destroyed. Soraya stepped forward. Her voice, calm, commanding, echoed across the communication line. This is Soraya Velnareth, first daughter of the broken line, bearer of the Soul Weaver child. I claim right of return. Silence followed then. Landing path authorized. Under escort. Resistance will result in termination. Jalen whispered. They're letting us land? They're afraid, Soraya replied. They just won't show it yet. As the ship descended, thousands gathered near the landing site. Royals, merchants, warriors, and spies. News had spread like fire. The broken princess has returned with a child, and beside her, a human farmer. Many didn't believe it. Some laughed, others feared, but all waited. The ship's doors opened. Jalen stepped out first, alert. Behind him, Soraya followed, her cloak drawn back. The glowing marks on her arms and neck were exposed, proud. Her steps were slow but strong. Her belly showed now. There was no doubt. The royal council stood at the base of the stairs, tall figures in robes of power. Behind them, guards with silver rifles. Above, drones streamed the moment to billions. Across the galaxy, Princess Soraya, the head counselor, spoke. You were cast out. By law, you are no longer of blood. Soraya stepped forward. Your law is dead. I carry life where you said there was none. Your science was wrong. Your power is fading. And the people are watching. The crowd behind them stirred. The counselor narrowed his eyes. Then let the people see this lie. He raised his hand. A bright beam scanned her and confirmed. Life form confirmed. Mixed DNA, Human soul weaver hybrid. Child viability. 100%. Gasps. Then silence. Jalen tightened his grip on the small energy pistol hidden under his coat. He could feel the danger in the air. Something wasn't right. The counselor stepped closer. You may have tricked nature, but your child is a threat. Our thrones stand because of bloodlines. If yours returns, the old ones may rise again. Soraya raised her voice. The people don't care about your thrones, they care about hope, about strength. And that child, she pointed to her stomach, is both. The counselor turned to the crowd. Do you want the return of the old bloodline, of the chaos they brought? From the back, an old woman called out. They brought life, not war, we remember. Another voice. She's not a threat, she's proof we were lied to. A third. We want the child to live, the crowd roared. Panic hit the council. One of the guards reached for his weapon, but he never got the chance. Soraya's eyes blazed gold. Wind swept the landing platform. The skies above turned dark. Her voice rang like thunder. You will not touch my child. Not again. Not ever. The guard's weapon shattered in his hand. The counselor stepped back, but Jalen stepped forward. He raised his voice, not loud but strong. I was just a farmer, they laughed when they gave her to me, called her useless. A joke. But I saw a person. And now she's more than all of you. The crowd was silent. Jalen continued. You wanted her erased. Now she stands before you not broken but rising, and she will not rise alone. Soraya took his hand. Together, they stepped onto the golden tiles of the royal square, and the ancient throne, abandoned for centuries, lit up, as if welcoming her. Far above, in hidden rooms, the last of the old bloodline felt the shift. The heir lives, a shadow whispered, and the child is more than we dreamed. On the throne world under the light of 3 suns, a new age began, not with war, but with a mother, and the human who stood with her. The child of storm and seed, the throne chamber had not seen light in over 100 years. Its golden walls, once polished by servants and priests, were covered in dust. The empty seat, the soul weaver throne, stood like a forgotten crown in the few, heart of power. But when Soraya entered, it lit up, not from the torches, not from machines, from her. Her very presence made the air shimmer. Old stone glowed. The throne, carved with symbols of life and balance, pulsed like a heartbeat. Jalen stood, behind her, watching the council members argue among themselves. None of them had expected her to reach the capital alive, and none were prepared to see the throne accept her, and the child within her. Its presence filled the room like a storm waiting to break. Outside the palace, the people gathered in the streets. Whispers turned into chants. Banners that hadn't been raised in centuries were pulled from hiding. The old blood rises. The child of balance lives. Soul Weaver returns. For the first time in generations, the empire trembled. In a secret chamber beneath the council hall, 3 elders sat in darkness. We must end this now, the first hissed. Too late, said the second. The people saw the throne accept her. If we kill her now, we martyr her. The third elder, older than the others, opened his eyes slowly. There is still one way. What? We don't kill her, the elder said. We break her, take the child, use it, shape it. And the human, erase him. Above, Soraya sat in the throne, not as a ruler but as a mother. Her hand never left her belly. The child kicked, stronger than before. Her breath hitched. He's growing faster, she said softly. Jalen knelt beside her. Is that safe? No, she whispered. But it's not just growth. He's remembering, like he's lived before. Jalen didn't understand, but he nodded. We'll face it, whatever it is. That night, as they rested in the royal quarters, the palace was silent, too silent. Jalen didn't sleep. Something felt off. Then came the scream. He rushed to Soraya. She was on the floor, eyes wide in pain. The marks on her skin burned bright red. Guards burst in. Not hers. Not loyal. "What's happening?" Jalen shouted, grabbing a weapon. "By order of the council, the child must be examined," one of the guards said coldly. "For the safety of the Empire." Jalen stood between them and Soraya. "You're not taking her." They fired. The blast threw Jalen back, but he stayed. Standing, blood ran down his arm. "You'll have to kill me," he growled. Before they could answer, the windows shattered. Light poured in, not from the sun, but from Soraya. She rose from the ground, floating. Her hair blew in invisible wind. Her eyes were glowing silver. "Enough," she said. "I gave you a chance to stand beside me, now you stand beneath." The guards collapsed, as if gravity had tripled. Jalen grabbed her hand. "Soraya, your body." "I can't stop it," she whispered. "He's coming." They fled the palace with the help of old allies, those who remembered the Soul Weavers, who hid when the Empire killed their kind. They took shelter in the Forgotten Gardens beneath the capital, a place of peace, now filled with vines and roots. There, under the sky of stars, Soraya screamed. The child was being born. But this was no normal birth. Light spread from her body into the ground. Trees shook. Animals gathered, drawn by the energy. Jalen held her, whispering comfort. "I'm here. I'm not leaving you. Breathe." With one final cry, a pulse of energy burst outward, knocking birds from the trees and shaking the soil. Then silence. And a cry. Not a normal cry, a singing cry. The child opened glowing blue eyes and reached toward the sky. He was born. Alive, strong, impossibly powerful. Soraya collapsed into Jalen's arms, smiling weakly. "He's beautiful. He's perfect," Jalen whispered, tears in his eyes. But they weren't alone. From the shadows, dark shapes moved. Council soldiers. One raised a weapon. "Take the child." Jalen stood, child in one arm, gun in the other. He had no armor, no army, no plan. But he had something more. Purpose. He was no longer just a farmer. He was the father of the first child born from both earth and stars, and he would not fall. Before the soldier could fire, the baby lifted a tiny hand, and the gun shattered. In the soldier's grip, a wave of energy knocked all the attackers down. Jalen stared at his son. The baby giggled. Soraya, still weak, laughed through tears. "He protected you," Jalen nodded, stunned. "Yeah, he did." Above them, the stars shimmered. Far away, empires watched, and somewhere deep in space, old machines awakened. For the first time in 1,000 years, a soul weaver child had been born, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The rise of the unseen. Flame deep inside the roots of the Forgotten Gardens, Jalen watched the baby sleep. His small chest rose and fell with calm breaths. Every so often, faint glows flickered around his tiny hands like stars blinking beneath his skin. "He doesn't even have a name," Jalen whispered to Soraya. She lay beside him, her strength slowly returning. Her skin no longer burned with energy, but the glowing symbols had turned silver. Calm, controlled. "He will name himself one day," she said softly. "He will choose what kind of power he wants to be." Jalen held his son closer. "We need to leave this world. They'll come again." "They already are," Soraya replied. Above them, across the throne world and into neighboring systems, the birth of the Soul Weaver child had spread like wildfire. On religious moons, followers bowed before screens and whispered prayers to a child they believed was divine. On war-hardened planets, leaders argued if this child was a threat to be ended or a force to be used. And far beyond the Empire's edge, in the dead systems once sealed off by war, machines that hadn't activated in millennia turned on. A forgotten AI once built to destroy the Soul Weavers opened its red eyes. Pattern detected. Soul Weaver confirmed. Mission. Extinction resumes. Back in the gardens, an old figure approached, tall, robed in moss and root fibers, with skin like bark and eyes like glowing coal. "You are the father?" he asked Jalen. "Who's asking?" The figure bowed. "I am Elder Therak. I served the Soul Weavers before they fell. I was their voice, and their betrayer." Jalen stepped in front of his son. "Why are you here? To guide, or to be judged? You choose." Soraya sat up. "You knew we would come. I saw it in the stars. A human would break the blood curse, and a child born of two worlds would return what was stolen." "What does that mean?" Jalen asked. Therak's voice grew heavy. "Your son carries balance. Where others hold power through control, he will shape power through harmony. He is not just Soul Weaver, he is First Flame," Soraya gasped. "But that bloodline was destroyed. Until you," Therak said, nodding at her. "And him." Before Jalen could reply, the ground shook. Not a natural quake, an impact, a piece of the sky ripped open, and from it a dark vessel dropped like a blade. Sharp, black and humming with anti-life energy. Soraya stood quickly. "That's not the council," Jalen's instincts screamed. "Then who?" Therak's voice dropped to a whisper. "The silencer, the final weapon, made by your ancestors to kill all Soul Weavers when the fear became too great." A hatch opened. Something stepped out, not alive, not dead, a mechanical form built of dark matter, shaped like a predator with no face. Its body gave off waves of decay. "Target confirmed," it spoke. "Termination protocol initiated." Jalen turned and ran, baby in his arms. "We're not ready for this." "We don't have to. Fight," Soraya shouted. "We just have to survive." She raised a wall of light, blocking a pulse blast from the silencer. The force knocked her back, but the baby remained unharmed. Jalen ducked into the deeper caves. Therak followed. "There is a sanctuary, a place no machine can reach, but we must move now." The chase began. Through old tunnels, underground rivers, and collapsing bridges, the silencer hunted them. Every step it took turned nature gray. Flowers wilted. Light faded. But the child began to glow brighter. As if resisting, Jalen could feel warmth in his arms. The baby was awake, eyes open and aware. Soraya stumbled. "Leave me," she said. "I'll hold it off." "Not happening," Jalen growled. He turned to face the silencer, holding his child to his chest. The machine raised its weapon, but before it could fire, the child lifted his tiny hand. A golden wave exploded outward, not from rage but from instinct. Trees bent toward it. Water changed direction, and the silencer stopped moving. Its systems shut down, its red lights dimmed, and then it fell apart. Not destroyed, returned to nature. Leaves grew from the metal, roots crawled across its body. The baby cooed. Soraya dropped to her knees, stunned. "He changed it." Jalen held the child close, his heart racing. "He didn't kill it, he healed it," Therak whispered. "This child is more than Soul Weaver. He is what the Soul Weaver should have become." But peace didn't last. From orbit, signals fired. To distant systems, the machine's failure was recorded, and many were watching. From warlords to ancient gods, all now knew. The child lives. He has power beyond destruction. He can change fate itself. And some would come to follow. Others to end. That night, Jalen and Soraya sat by a quiet river. They named their son Kale. In the old tongue, it meant life returned to flame. He slept between them, peaceful and warm. But above them, stars shifted, and war would not wait much longer. The child who changed the stars, the fire, crackled gently under a glowing moon. Jalen watched his son Kale, sleeping peacefully between them. His tiny fingers curled around a blade of grass that shimmered with his power. Each night since the silencer fell, the child's presence had grown stronger yet quieter. Not wild, not violent, just steady, like a heartbeat echoing across the galaxy. Soraya sat close, tired eyes fixed on the sky. "They're coming," she whispered. "I can feel them. Thousands of minds, machines, aliens, leaders, armies." Jalen didn't ask how she knew. He'd learned to trust her instincts. She had Soul Weaver blood. And now the child of balance pulsed inside her very soul. In the farthest corners of space, systems that had once stayed hidden now turned their focus to Kyle. Some prepared gifts, some prepared weapons, others prepared lies. The council was no longer whole. 3 members had defected, believing Kale was the future. 2 others had vanished, and the last had sent a message across the stars. "Bring the child, or worlds will burn." Kale grew fast. In days he learned words. In weeks he walked, barefoot, always connected to the land. He asked deep questions no one taught him. Why do stars die? Why do people hurt each other? Can peace live longer than war? When Jalen had no answers, Kale would smile and say, "Then I'll find them." Their small family stayed hidden, deep in the sanctuary forests. But peace could not protect them forever. One day, the sky opened. 12 ships, armed, vast, silent. And then, one figure stepped out. An alien, woman covered in gold armor, eyes glowing like fire. Behind her stood thousands of troops. She raised her hand. "I am General Arava of the Burning Fleet. I come to take the child. For safety," she said. "For protection." "What she means," Jalen whispered to Soraya, "is control." Jalen stepped forward, baby in his arms. "We're not handing him over." The general's voice was like steel. "You don't understand what's coming. Kale's existence has broken cosmic laws. The starbound sentinels have awakened. The grave-born gods stir. Your child is no longer a baby. He is a signal, a beacon. If we don't contain him, the galaxy dies." Kale looked up from Jalen's arms. His eyes, now glowing blue and gold, met the general's. "Why are you afraid of me?" he asked. Arava hesitated. "Because we've never seen someone rewrite the threads of fate." Kyle reached out. The ground beneath the general's feet sprouted green vines. A flower bloomed at her boots, and she wept. Not from pain, from peace. Her troops lowered their weapons. Soraya stepped beside her son. "He doesn't destroy. He restores." But just as peace began to form, another force arrived. Darkness filled the horizon. The starbound sentinels, ancient machines from before recorded history. They saw life as flawed and balance as a threat. They moved not with war cries, but with silence. Their leader, the Void Mind, stepped forward. No face, no voice, only thoughts shared through fear. Correction required. The child must end. Kyle stepped forward alone. Tiny, calm, brave. "You fear what you cannot understand," he said, "but I understand you." His hands opened. From the stars above, light fell. From the roots below, life rose, and when the sentinels fired, they missed. Not because he dodged, because their programming changed. Kale didn't fight them. He rewrote them. One by one, the sentinels turned away, lay down their weapons, deactivated themselves. The Void Mind trembled and faded. It had never been defeated before, until a child chose not to fight, but to forgive. The war that never began was over, and a new age began. 5 years later, Kyle walked through cities once scarred by war. Now filled with trees and children playing, Jalen and Soraya, older, stood beside a peaceful council made of both humans and aliens. "We never expected this," one alien leader said to Jalen. "Neither did we," he replied. Soraya added, "You all gave us fear. We gave you a child, and he gave the stars a second chance." Kale became not a king, not a god, but a guide. His teachings spread across systems. His words were simple. Life is not about power. It is about protection. True strength is not how loud you roar, but how gently you can heal. On the 10th cycle of peace, the galaxy remembered. They remembered the princess once mocked, the human once forgotten, and the child once feared. They remembered how kindness rewrote war, and how a human heart raised a galactic hope. And that is how a joke became a throne, how a broken gift became a fire, and how one small child changed the stars forever.